All right, welcome to another episode of Free Range American from Salt Lake City, Utah, and where are you? Bernie, Texas?
Well, no, you're calling us from a Prick 117 Golf, are you not? I mean, you guys keep having earthquakes. Like, you had to throw an antenna on the roof. That's how we're getting this whole show. That's why, Free Range Friday was just a little bit delayed, is because you needed to go to the roof with an antenna.
Man, Free Range Friday was delayed, and I was fucking spicy about 15 minutes ago. Holy shit!
It's okay. I was here 2 hours ago, ready for the podcast, and now we're just starting. Hey, it's okay though. It's a good day. But
there was a lot going on.
There was.
Even when you showed up, I mean, we had 3 separate systems out here trying to get this whole thing to work.
But we're out here in Bernie, Texas. I'm at Jared's place. We're keeping the quarantine real. How's it going out there, Evan?
The quarantine is definitely real here for sure. I shouldn't say it's social isolating, right? It's not necessarily quarantine, but yeah, we're nobody's here. So basically the only people who are left in Salt Lake at our facility are roasting coffee because they're deemed necessary. And we've got a few guys here in shipping and receiving, but outside of that, everybody essentially is at least 6 to 10 feet away. There's about a 40,000 square foot facility just for me to kind of run around naked in, basically, at this point.
He got himself a big wheel, like an adult big wheel.
So you don't need HR having the facility to yourself, what you're trying to say.
There's no HR here. So earlier today, the gym's up here. We got this little gym right next to the facility, and I was going back and forth between the sauna and my horse trough that I'm using as an ice bath. And
he's also keeping his lunch cool in. It's a multi-purpose trough.
No, he called me this morning, and Evan's like, "Dude, I got a horse trough and I put ice in it." So I'm like, You made an ice bath. I mean, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah, but my drinks, all my LaCroix and my lunch are in it too.
He just puts
it's multi-purpose trough.
I put my multi-purpose trough here, and I've been VTCing a lot from the gym because I've realized in the last 5 years I've just turned into like a fat old man. So today, as I was looking at my disgusting body, I actually shaved my mustache too because I was like, what? I've got to try to lose some. I've got to try to lose some weight.
The mustache isn't part of the weight.
Yeah, I mean, you maybe
it's like maybe 60,000 hairs that weighs like 4.5 grams, like a quarter of a potato.
Every ounce counts, Jared.
Ounces make pounds.
Yes. So you're the type that shaves your entire body before you weigh yourself.
Like to go swim
because you feel good.
It slows me down. Yeah.
No, I'm starting over as of today. Like I'm starting over with social isolation, beard, mustache. I'm starting over with my entire hair process, which it sounds kind of weird, but today I was like, you know what? I think I just need to reset a few things, and I'll be in Texas next week, hopefully, unless we all get shut down from moving across state lines.
It's getting hot here, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it is. If I'm a little sleepy today, sorry, Evan. I was up at 5 for Fox this morning, so you know me. I don't get up in those Evan Hafer times. I sleep in until at least 8.
Well, yeah, you texted me at 6 a.m. this morning, or 5:50 or whenever it was.
That we used to call them, the EHTs.
What's that?
The 4:45. Idea text.
Yeah, I did. I did those early mornings enough. I'm good, but yeah, things are getting pretty spicy over here. I mean, everything's pretty much shut down. There's still some availability as far as takeout, but majority speaking, it's kind of gas stations and grocery stores that are open, and then decent amount of takeout. And that's something I've been trying to do is like support local businesses, because the economical impact of a lot of this, you don't realize that people aren't going out and they're not shopping as much, and the local businesses are suffering massively.
I know, if they shut down Sauced, I would cry.
You'd cry, yeah. Those chicken sandwiches are great, dude.
The buffalo chicken sandwich over there is like my favorite.
Well, I think that's what I want to do is, because they say you have to remove yourself and then essentially adopt a really small group of people that you're only interfacing with. So when we go when we go down to Texas, it'll essentially just be the Black Rifle guys. Logan's already moved to the ranch, as far as I know. I'm fairly certain he lives there.
Yeah, he does.
Trying to call him is quite frustrating.
I've literally been around 5 people. I mean, Jared, and then I've been staying away from Dave because I don't trust his health practices. But I know he's an introvert, so at least he's not out. But other than that, I've been around like Eli and then my wife, and that's it.
Yeah, this is a really fucking strange time for the world, and as an individual, I think it's very difficult to just try to comprehend exactly what's going on from an entire socioeconomic level. This is so fucking complex to try to comprehend emotionally that I think that the best thing to do is just remove yourself from the situation the best that you can and try to let the fucking storm just pass. But I know that a lot of people can't do that, but fuck.
Bear with me because I'm a silver lining kind of motherfucker. And I think that it's like in every storm, there's that brilliance of, the epicenter and all these things that you can actually have a really cool new perspective on life. And for me, I think it actually shows a lot of people how fragile society is. I mean, if you look at COVID-19 and as bad as it is, and the infection rate and the transfer rate and yada, 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 I mean, it's not as bad as it possibly could be. And what this kind of defined for me is for people to know how amazing America is, generally speaking, to give us such a quality life. And moreover, like when you're home and all these people are so bored, like this is the opportunity now to pursue some dreams. Like the brilliance is the internet's up. Like practice the guitar you always want to get better at. Up. Do some body weight exercises. Get fit. Call your family that you haven't. Like there's some opportunity to find the silver lining in all of this. To really kind of do some new interesting things that you weren't able to do before based off of just being completely isolated for the most part. And as long as we're supporting the healthcare providers and ensuring that we're combating the disease and taking care of the elderly and the people that are higher risk for mortality rates and all of that stuff, I think overall it could be a lot worse. But, as long as we're staying true and doing what we can, I think it could be a lot worse. So,
well, it's also the first time the country in a long time has experienced something that is affected across the board.
Yeah.
You look at things like Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Katrina, even 9/11, like 9/11 affected the country, in a security standpoint, all over the country when it came to airports, when it came to bases and stuff like that for a trickle of a couple weeks and things like that. But like even with the hurricanes and stuff like that, like it affected a couple neighboring states as far as supply chain and things like that go. But now you're facing this all 50 states all at once.
Well, everyone's having to change lifestyle practices and standard way of life, which is an interesting thing.
And even then it's like, even if, this is happening in Canada and it's happening in Mexico. So it's like to think like, oh, well, if things get really bad, we could ask Canada for help. No. They're going through it too.
It's global.
Yeah, the entire international healthcare system is being overrun and not only stretched to its limits, but then past capacity, right? And, even if we just start at the top on the business impact, like Matt was talking about, you have so many people that are out of work, that are, going to be unemployed, and they could be unemployed for an extended period of time because we don't know exactly how long this is going to last, right? And to Matt's point,
and the scale of it, right? Because this could be just the start of an economic crisis and even a supply chain management across the country. As far as the good thing is right, like the food supplies there, it's people that are really over purchasing and prepping that are really taxing supply chain. And so it's like one of those things where like, get what you need, and as long as we're not taxing it too much, we're gonna be fine within reason. As a country, we're still gonna have the impact health wise by people that are infected and then the more at risk individuals. But ultimately it's like it's not like we're out of water, there's just people are buying too much kind of thing,
right? Well, and it's crazy, right? And I know this has been spoken about so many different times by so many different people, but this is only a couple weeks old. That the things that they're hoarding, the thing that doesn't compute with me is the toilet paper issue. The toilet paper issue does not make sense to me. That's a group think. Like, everybody's buying toilet paper, so I guess I have to buy it. Out of all the things that people pinged on in this entire thing, toilet paper, like, you just kind of
you almost think that that's a 4chan thing. Like, it was like, right? Where did that start? Because the one thing that you could substitute with hundreds of things, to include the shower that you have right next to your toilet, like, yet that is what you're going to panic buy.
Yeah, little water on the bum. Do you to clear that fecal matter out real quick? Go ahead. Sorry.
Go outside and use the garden hose. If you live in an apartment, maybe use the shower. I'm sure there are a lot of Americans out there. Most Americans have an extra T-shirt they could cut into squares. I'm just like I'm just like throwing stuff out. But it's like, of all the things that we're going to, as a society, really panic about, the toilet paper was not only the most kind of head scratch moment that I had. It was like, this is a fucking crazy country. The toilet paper, and honestly, the people that were buying it have to be the people that are going, they have nothing else that they understand what they should be buying, so they're just going, fuck it.
No, that's a really good point. Toilet paper. Yeah. So I've got two things for you on that. Number one, this could show you, though, maybe it was literally just the first footage of people rushing to the store. Whoever was in front of the camera had like 19 rolls of toilet paper, because that's what they grabbed. And that clip got played and played and played, and that stuck in everybody's head like they needed to get toilet paper. But like you said, when I was at the store last week, people don't know how to buy.
They don't
at all. Yeah. Like, the things that I was seeing people like thinking that they were stocking up on were things that were going to last barely 2 weeks before they had to throw them out. But they had 10, 25 of these things, and it's like, you can't freeze that.
Well, yeah, and I think it's
why do you have a whole dump truck full of watermelons, man? Those are going to go wrong.
It
doesn't even make sense.
It's like a bunch of eggs and watermelon and cantaloupe.
To be a little lighthearted about this, I didn't realize how much of a fucking prepper I am, and I think you too, Jared.
That is true.
Like, when everybody was like, the toilet paper crisis, I was like, I have 2,000 wet wipes at my house. I'm like, I could poop with diarrhea probably for 6 months and be fine. And of course, I have whiskey, but that's supplemental because we have a whiskey company.
Yeah.
But then, like, I have 3 freezers full of deer meat. I have like all the ammo, and I was like, oh, I don't need it. I told Noelle, I was like, we're good. I mean, we'll just like buy chicken once a week or something. But like, I just been eating red stag, and I could go for another 8 or 9 months.
I know.
And I'm not having, and I can go hunt again. I'm like, this is easy.
Before I could fly back, like I'm flying back. I'm like, give me pictures of the freezer in the pantry, the freezer in the shed, and the freezer in the fridge, and the pantry. She's like, yeah, you got 2 deer in here. You got all that meat that Primal sent you, Mountain Primal. You haven't eaten shit. We've got like 3 months worth of stuff.
Well, that's a good thing, because a lot of people, like, you have to look at it in perishable good ways, right? Because if you're going to milk any of these things, they can be frozen. They have extended, shelf stability if they're frozen. But like canned options and rice and things that are good for 18, 20 months. Those are the things I would think people would be flying off the shelf. And I think like a lot of the rice has been doing that. But it's bizarre to me.
It took a while, though. It took a while. Then, even the week I got back from North Carolina, the canned good aisles were untouched. Yeah. And it was like, oh, you guys haven't figured this out yet. And the amount of friends that I have been on the phone with that have called me like, hey, how do I do this? Like, I realized, like, oh, okay, all right, take each person in your house, 2 meals a day. Generally, you can get away with this and this, using, how we were rationed in Iraq.
Well, it's just like how you manage finances, right? It's not financial management at this point. It's good management. And you're like, okay, this is what I can ration. Having a reserve is what I always do. And then you can sustain yourself on a paycheck to paycheck to make a financial reference. But then that would be like a good reference. Like, okay, I can eat this chicken once a week. Grocery stores will get restocked. You can go in and buy 2 chickens. That sustains me for the week. And then I have a reserve if shit goes really freaking south, which I really don't think it will. And I hope it doesn't. But, like that's my methodology and thinking behind it.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, what were you buying? What was going on, in the household? I got, just like you guys, a ton of people were texting me, asking me like what gun to buy, like, people that you hadn't talked to for literally 20 years.
Ages, yeah.
Going, hey, what kind of gun should I buy? It's like, dude, 2 months ago, you were ranting against me on a text about, I think, AR-15. This is an exact circumstance. I'll tell you guys. I have a really good friend that I went to high school, college with. He lives in Oregon. He was in DC for a while. He was texting me about assault rifles, and he's like, I think that we need to, ban assault rifles. He was like very adamant about it. I am not kidding. Less than 2 weeks ago, he's like, hey, bud, just want to check in and see how things are going. That's how he kind of opened up the convo. He's like, hey, but so
I'm not too to say is literally why I wrote that lyric was like, it's like, hope your family's well, hope your hands are clean, any chance that you might have an extra AR-15. Because, dude, I've gotten that text at least 10 times, like, hey, man, how's everything? Family good? Hey, so you mind mailing me an AR for like?
Oh my God,
that's illegal.
It's illegal. Can't do it.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of Californians that like opened their eyes. Like,
but and I think that there's some form of silver lining in all of that, right? Because it shows you what reality is really like, and it's easy to fall into this kind of like fake facade and this safety bubble of like society exists and that's the way it is. But we forget how fragile the infrastructure of all of this is. Like, electricity goes out. Think about that and the massive stipulations, because you talk about freezing food. Electricity goes out for 2 weeks, 1 week. Everything in your freezer is gone. Gone. Unless you have a supply somewhere with a generator to provide ice or run your freezers. Like, you're fucked. And then as that progresses, and I'm not trying to be a tin hat wearer here, then it goes into violent acts to provide for their family. Because I don't care who you are. If you need to feed your child, you're going to, at any means necessary. And that's where people are starting to go, holy shit, okay, I have electricity, I have food. What if my neighbor comes in here and robs me at gunpoint? Like, there's massive stipulations associated with that. And I think that kind of tailors back, not to make this a Second Amendment conversation, but why a lot of us are gun owners and responsible gun owners, because it's a tool and a means for our own personal safety as a last resort. Like, if I never have to kill someone ever again in my life, I will be the happiest man ever. But I'm willing and able, if I need to protect myself and my family. And you start seeing that more realistic perspective from a lot of these people that go, oh man, if this snowballs even farther.
Well, that's another thing. You're touching on a point that was driven home too with somebody that called me. Their exact words: I never thought I would see a day in my life where a major city would run out of food. I'm like, my response was, you guys are the first to go.
Yeah.
Like, you're the most densest population. Like, how did this not go? How did this not register that you're the first that gets the supply chain just wiped out?
Well, not only that, but there's a lot of legislation in these large towns, and I think California is one of them. I think Virginia might be. Don't quote me on that. But you can't even capture rainwater. I got like 100,000 gallons of rainwater, and that's
absurd.
Filtration.
That is absurd.
I think it's absurd too. But that's real, and these people are living there based off of the influx of population and urban sprawl and all these other things. But the government doesn't provide them the opportunity to kind of exist individually and by their own means, and you have to kind of understand that is a component as far as where you're living in the United States. And for a lot of us out here in hill country that live on quite a few acres, I mean, I have deer every single morning. Like, even if I had to, I'm just gonna shoot deer in the face and provide for my family and cut them open and have a week's supply worth of meat. And I don't think it's going to go there in this case, but those are always things that are in the back of your head, right? It's first, second, third order effects, and then how you have a contingency plan, a tertiary plan, and an emergency plan, right? Basic fundamentals of military operations, right? Plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, it's super interesting because while I was getting these texts and I was talking to my wife, because we had just gotten back from Guatemala when things really started the heat was really picking up on this thing. Yeah. And my wife and I we were having this discussion because she was, well, how do we plan for this? And I was like, this is our life. We've incorporated this into the way we live. So we already have enough food for our entire family, plus my father and maybe a couple others for the next 60 to 90 days. That's what the pantry is. So now all we did at that point was we just layered on the foods that would spoil. So we just got additional freezer and some other fresh foods, because I told my wife, I was like, you don't want to be near a grocery store for at least the next 3 weeks to a month. You don't even want to have to go there.
Don't even
dude, that is a perfect example, right? Like, and not like, since we're kind of on the prepper subject, but I love that ideology, right? Where it's like, can you go to the grocery store? Yeah, of course. And we've actually put in some really good procedures. You know, I've seen here in Texas, there's a law enforcement officer at the front. You have to wipe down your cart, wash your hands when you enter the facility, and then when you leave the facility. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but like, I can bypass that for weeks if I need to, because I'm like, ooh, if things are heating up, I don't have to.
Also, they've modified hours too. They've cut hours. Like Walmarts are closing at 8:30. Other places are closing at 6:30 to allow stalkers to restock.
You have to think of it in necessity terms. Is it necessary that I go to the grocery store? No, but it's a convenience for me at this point, and that convenience is still an option, which is awesome, because I'm like, I'll get fillets. I'll just cruise in with some hand sanitizer and make sure I'm good. Stay away from some people. But if things really escalate, then it's like you have that kind of contingency whatever option.
Yeah, and I think that's just we've always, I think that's one thing out of the military and maybe the units that we came out of, right, where primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency planning. I just have incorporated that into my life. It's inherently built into me to not want my truck to be below a quarter of a tank of gas, for me not to have, additional layers of security, whether it's, sidearm on me, and then we'll have multiple locations in the house where we maintain firearms, out of reach and safe from the kids, of course, right? So responsible gun ownership, but nothing really changed. The only thing that changed in our lives was our kids were home, right? In our individual lives outside of the business, but our kids were home more, which give me another present, to be honest with you. I want to spend more time with the kids either way. And we got them out of public school. I took the kids out of school at least a week earlier than probably a week and a half before public schools started saying, no more public school, because I told my wife, I was like, listen, I think this is where this is going. If it doesn't go that way, I'm still not going to do it. I'm still not going to send my kid to a school every day where she could possibly.
It's already a petri dish.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I told her, I was like, listen, and we had that conversation where it's like, I always get sick because of two things, because of people at work or the kids. I went through several years, and I'm sure you guys were the same way, Matt. When we were contracting, I started looking at it. I never got sick. Unless it was food illness because I was eating with locals.
Yeah,
but I didn't get the flu.
Yeah, I never got the flu or sick.
Yeah.
But you look at general, not even an epidemic, but like, let's just say the seasonal flu. I mean, we call like the SHOT Show plague, right? It's because you have a group of 70,000 people that are consistently shaking hands, touching their face, touching their eyes, and the disease and or bacterial
it only starts with like
transmission.
10.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody gets the same thing. Did you get the SHOT Show flu or whatever? It's because proximity and then transferring of disease. And I'm obviously not a medical doctor, but these are basic parts.
This was the first year I didn't get sick at SHOT Show because I went there.
I went through the right procedures, same as you. All of us did. I was like, I shook hands, didn't touch it, Purelled every single time, and I was like, I'm good.
The three of us stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to get a lot of sleep, because that's one of the biggest problems that I've had at SHOT Show is you stay out late, you're talking to people. Yep. I didn't drink. I had like 3 drinks the entire time, and the only time I really had a drink
at all.
No, you and I kept away from the booze.
We didn't have one drink.
No, not at all. I mean, didn't you see the BTS?
Yeah,
there was like
one.
We did not stay up until 3:00 in the morning singing, and I missed my
didn't.
I missed my production time.
You probably didn't do that.
No, not at all.
I just think it's interesting from a perspective of, the national conversation now, I think at least, I mean, the progressive, wingnut progressive left, they're always going to want to take guns. They're always going to want socialism. They're always going to want these fucking weird ideologically, I guess, ideologues are going to be pushing for things that are never going to work within our society. And it's never going to go away in our lifetime, at least. Right. But the conversations about gun ownership in America right now, if we were just like to go back, I was talking to Neil Curry from Ready Gunner, and I don't know if this statistic is true or not, but he was telling me that he was reading somewhere and it might have been put out by the ATF, that there are more people applying for firearms in the last 3 weeks than any other time in American history. New gun ownerships were up some insane amount of percentage, which tells me I think we have a much bigger lobbying group than we did 3 weeks ago.
I think you're absolutely right, because that's what I did read a couple articles yesterday about California, specifically after the God, I forget her position, but she overturned, was she the Attorney General? Overturned the sheriff's attempt to close LA County gun shops, and she deemed them essential businesses, and it said the amount of people that learned what the process is. And I mean, if we're going to be fair, Steven Crowder pointed this out almost a year and a half ago when he did some of his Change My Minds on a college campus. And,
right.
The first thing out of those kids' mouth, well, I think there should be a waiting period. He's like, there is. That right. is in place. If you're a new gun owner,
what is it? 7 or 10 days in Cali?
In California, it's 10 days.
10 days.
So it's like
right.
all these people learned how this process works, and now that ignorance has gone down a percentage.
But that's the way you should take this as a learning, right? Hopefully, people come out on the other end and go, "I get it," And then if you're a first time firearm owner, purchaser, you got YouTube out there. Learn the mechanics of your firearm. Learn
right.
the proper stowage of it. Keep it out of reach, out of children. Make sure your wife and you know how to unload, load, put the safety on if there is, or understand the internal safety mechanisms within that firearm, right? That's what we always try to preach here, is like, it's a great tool, but you have to understand the tool. Just like a drill bit. If you don't know how to use it, it's completely useless, right? So just as a firearm.
Because that is a fear too, is, my kids and Evan's kids are very familiar with firearms because they've been in their lives since they were,
Day one.
born. So they have a very high education of them. They have a very strict regime of, I'm not to touch those things unless I'm standing right there allowing them to. But you have all these brand new gun owners though that are purchasing guns for the first time, that have kids that have never been around firearms. Yeah. So that could be pretty scary, yes, if they're not taking the time to have education, because that statistic could come back and they would use that against us. All these new gun buyers, but look at all these incidents.
Right.
Well, what is the core root of that incident?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good content opportunity, I think, for a bunch of people. We should be embracing this and putting out instructionals for first time gun owners. Actually, because it's historically high. If we were just putting out some instructionals, that would be a good civic duty for us, just to kind of wrap our heads around and try to activate some influencers around it, because that would be
I mean,
it would be a great. It would be really for us.
Yeah, great. It would be a great series. It's just whether or not these platforms are going to allow it. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, we know what we're trying to do, but do they?
Right. And it's. I think as we continue to see this unfold, which at least from my perspective, the things I was really worried about, because I heard all kinds of rumors, and you get texts from guys that you knew, and they're like, they're gonna shut down supply chain. And I was like, that's never gonna happen, dude. You can't shut down semis from moving across the United States. That means people die. They have to get food. They have to get insulin. It's a much greater enemy than the virus itself. You can't just say, fuck it, we're going to shut the entire economy down. Yeah. There are portions of it that you have to shut down, which are built on the spread of the virus.
Yeah, well, it's the gatherings and the recreational, and that's what was the first to go. The major sports, nuked, all the major sports, the concert, the music industry. And then the next to go was the bars.
And now it's, restaurants and coffee shops. Not to, I guess to plug, one of the things that we're doing, because we're still one of the businesses in America that can still manufacture and roast, is we're doing a buy a bag, give a bag for EMS, medical workers. So we're trying to keep those people caffeinated, and it's quite literally the least we can do for them at this point. We signed up for the responsibility to try to push this stuff in, and buy a bag, give a bag is what we're calling the initiative. We do it every year, typically for military service members that are deployed. But now we're shifting the focus to hospital staff, EMS, people that are going to need a lot of caffeine over the next few months. They're going to need a lot of caffeine. So, knock on wood.
That's another reason, Evan, because I think all of us have done a decent amount of research on this within reason. And it's not necessarily I get kind of frustrated with people when they're like, oh, you're young and healthy, you're fine. But you have to look at the infection rate of who you're around, who you're touching, and the strain that it takes on kind of the infrastructure and the medical side of everything. Well, because most hospitals at this point, and I was on Fox and Friends this morning, and the gentleman before me was a general, and he was talking about how most hospitals at this point are COVID-19 hospitals.
Yeah.
All other patients are actually, they're having
no heart surgeries, no nothing.
Surgeries, and they're having to do stand to pretty much hospitals. So they're using stadiums they're trying to get set up. They're trying to get hotels, motels that are vacant to allow them to put inpatient in these fucking places. And then not only the infection rate of a lot of these people, because you have doctors intubating people. And when you intubate somebody, you're having a lot of air and fluid come out, and they're infecting the doctors, and we're getting doctors really sick, and then they can't be around patients, especially geriatric patients, people with cardiovascular health, with health issues.
All those
and
people,
so those are the third and fourth order effects. So people have to take this seriously, because it's not just I got a little worse flu and I'm fine.
That was that shit in Panama City, all those spring breakers. Oh, well, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, they go home, infect their parents, and they go and infect the doctor. It's guys, you got to be fucking smart about this, Because I look at that. I had someone kind of close to me who was like, oh, you're a pussy, Matt? You're afraid to get the flu? And I'm like, my dad has lung issues. He's 77 years old. If I get my dad sick, statistically speaking, in his health and age range, has a 15% chance
62
of
is the
dying.
Yeah.
And I'm fuck you, man. Fuck you. I want my father here and spend as much quality time with him as I can. And I really think people have to take that serious. And moreover, when we did that song, and actually, Evan, you were the one who kind of brought this point up, and I looked into it. Whatever you think about the Red Cross, but they have a massive blood shortage. So you have people that need dialysis. They can't get blood. So you're going to have these people that are not even dying from the virus, but
they're dying from the lack of care.
Of care. Yeah. And that's something that we really have to understand and really take this serious when people are like, oh, fuck the quarantine, fuck this, I'm young. You're like, yeah, but your participation in unhealthy behavior will carry on not just to you, but to other people that you'll never know that you impacted, and possibly change their lives or their family lives for the utmost tragedy.
Hey, absolutely. And I think all of us have had some of that feedback. I had it even from inside the company when we first came back. I came into the office the next day and I was like, all right, everybody, we're planning now to essentially push all of our non-essential, when we say non-essentially located personnel, nobody that's doing manufacturing or roasting for us, we're going to send those people to work from home. And I had some pushback internally. People were like, are you serious? This is the flu. And I was like, yes, I'm absolutely dead fucking serious.
Because even if
you guys are going to go home,
if
we can work from home, why are we not working from home? I had to come into the office every day for the first week and tell people to go home. And they didn't think I was taking it as serious as I was taking it. And I had to push that out daily in stand-ups and on VTCs. You guys have seen it, but just to solidify the point, I'm taking this very serious. The other thing is I can't get sick and my wife can't get sick at the same time either. Because if we go down and we go down hard, we have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old at home that rely on us to be fed and clothed, and we can't get bedridden sick. We have 2 children in our home.
Put that in perspective.
We can't.
Evan,
it's fucking crazy.
In the perspective of, let's say there is no mortality rate on this, and it just gets you really sick for 2 weeks. Even that, if nobody dies from it, the influx and the fucking strain on the medical system will kill people because of all of this. So even taking the mortality rate out of it, the attitude of being like, oh, I'm fine, you're still fucking everybody.
Well, that's my thing, because I've had people reach out and be all the tin hat wearers and saying yada yada yada, and I'm like, at the end of the day, just don't divest yourself from the severity of this. Go home, binge watch some Netflix. We have the internet. Do some air squats. Watch some YouTube tutorials how to do Photoshop.
Thankful that we got hit with one that wasn't a 70% mortality rate.
Yeah.
It's not the Black Plague.
So it's like, okay, we're having a good test run.
And it is a test within reason, right? Yeah. And then but it's still serious, man. Like, a lot of people are passing. I think have you looked at the statistics today? I think 26,000 people around there as of today, when I looked, have died globally. That's a pretty big number, guys. So, and that's the thing. It requires such small effort from the majority of us to sit home. And granted, a lot of us are a little, we have different houses with a studio and things like that. And I've been rubbing my home gym in everybody's face as a joke. But, you might have just a small condo, a small apartment. I know it's rough and your way of life and lifestyle has changed, but that's part of life. Sometimes you got to sacrifice things to have a better outcome post all of this.
How long did the three of us live in a Connex?
Yeah, you'll be all right.
I was telling my wife, where I was talking to her about this the other day, the same thing, which was, if we look back at in history, and let's just go to Germany in the 1930s, right? So if you had a Jewish heritage, and I don't want to frame it exactly like, Nazi and Jews, but think about it in like worst case scenario. And that's what I was kind of framing it to her, is like, you had families that, their doors were kicked in. They were torn out of their homes. They watched their kids leave their arms for the last time as they were put on trains to be gassed. That is a fucking horrific reality and thought. All we have to do is go home for a couple weeks and binge watch fucking Netflix, and like you said,
weird documentaries about tigers,
right?
Yeah, and
right,
and you're bitching because your Coachella tickets are worthless now.
Well, that was like, I didn't know, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I don't give a flying fuck. It's like Jared had showed me while we were writing the quarantine song with Tim, because we want to make a fun awareness piece and entertain people, like the some of the celebrities, and some of them I'm actually huge fans of, but like, singing the John Lennon song, and I'm just like, dude, and they're complaining, most of them, about having to be in quarantine and how this is such a struggle, and I'm like, you're in your $1 million home, shut the fuck up, use your fucking platform for something better than to be self-infatuating and bitch, you fucking pussy bitch. Like, it just, like, it grosses me out. Like, use your platform to be like, hey, I'm following social distancing. This is what I'm doing. I hope you guys follow in stride. Let's all come together.
Hey, they arrested that kid, I believe in Tennessee, that was rolling around licking everything, and charged him with terrorism, which is absolutely 100% what should happen. Like, that motherfucker should spend 5 years in prison minimum. Like, this is how dumb you are. This is how dumb you have let social media. You want some sort of you want a view count. And you're going to go around and again, it's like, yes, we need to eradicate ourselves of people like that.
Yeah, that's the conversation that we should be having right now, is like, okay, so how do we make sure that dumb people don't cause more problems for us? And how do we just
the anti-dumb legislation?
But that's the thing, and I'll post this link into the video, because I pushed this out to our business partner. Sent out a video the other day, Steven, and it's very informative. It's from a doctor in New York that's on the ventilator floor. So he's the guy that's deciding basically who gets a ventilator and who doesn't. Arguably, he's probably one of the only like real subject matter experts in the United States that has firsthand experience with COVID-19. He put out a very informative video. You really only have to watch about the first half hour of it to get what's going on. But to summarize, he's saying, carry a bottle of hand sanitizer everywhere you go. Anytime you touch something, sanitize your hands. So flip on a light switch, open a door, flush a toilet, shake a hand, but don't shake a hand, obviously. But, and he's saying your chances of getting this, if you practice social distancing, and if you're just a hand washing and sanitization, less than 1% of getting it, because it's spreading from your hand to your face.
Well, and that's a good point in there too, Evan. He was actually saying a good outcome based off of the research is it's not as airborne as they thought. He was like, if you got sneezed on in your mouth, yes, because fluid can carry it.
Yeah, but you could just put a bandana on and it's just to keep you from touching your face.
Yeah, pretty much the face masks are not. It's just like well, it depends on the masks, right? And if you're not misusing them, and that's something. I mean, we'll post the link, guys, because you should definitely listen to it, because it's talking about how, you know, if you're wearing a face mask, that's actually not saving you unless you have the proper one, but freaking medical facilities need the proper one, so, you know, don't use them. But the face mask, if you wear it, would actually be an inhibitor for you to transmit the disease to you yourself. It's not you giving it to really other people. So it's an interesting thing.
Having something on your face keeps you from touching your face as much.
Right. And did you watch the Bill Gates, I think it was a TED Talk 4 years ago, Evan?
No, I didn't.
I'll send you the link after this. It's super interesting because he was talking about nuclear warfare. And he's like, this is what people think the end of the world looks like. And he goes, this is what it really looks like. And it was 4 years ago. And it was kind of covering the H1N1 virus as far as and some of the other viral infections, and how a lot of these have been, by the time a subject is actually contagious to other people, they're bedridden. And he was like, the problem is if we run into a virus that is airborne and you're not getting symptoms 3 to 5 days, these proponents that are traveling can actually go out and infect people on trains and airplanes and all the things that we interact in a large social group with people. And he pretty much called exactly what's happening, and how, you know, globally, the infrastructure to support something like this is we do not invest the time, the money into it. And I think this is a good depiction of that and the strain. And I'll end that with, I truly am not saying this just to say it, but the fucking healthcare workers out there, man, how much these nurses are going through and the doctors, it is fucking crazy, especially in the high contagious cities right now, like New York. Dude, it gives me fucking chills what they're doing. And like, shout out to you guys. If we can help at Black Rifle, let us know. That's why we're doing the coffee stuff. We can only do so much, obviously, but holy shit.
Are we taking certain hospital submissions for the Buy a Bag, Give a Bag?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
we are. We're actually, so we're not only going through organizations like the USO, the Red Cross, we're actually donating directly to clinics and hospitals that are just like, here's coffee, fucking go for it. A lot of these people are pulling 20-hour days, getting 3-4 hours sustained, like no break, and it's only going to get worse. And
and the other thing that they're doing, Matt, is they're actually quarantining hospital staff, and they're making them stay in the hospitals and live in the hospitals. So, which is fucking crazy when you think about it. Like, you can't go home to your family. You are going to live here in the hospital because we don't know if you're actually we don't know if you can spread it and if you're contagious. So now you live here. You live at the hospital now. Well, these people are sleeping in bunk beds. They're sleeping in bunk beds in the hospital. They're you know, showering and, you know, the co-ed showers in some locations. Like, it's, and not like that's a huge issue, but I'm just saying, like, the amount
but then they're
of
having
work
to put the work in. It's fucking insane. And we got nothing but love for you guys. Like, I'm serious. Like, my want in this show is for people to do a little extra research, not go off of social media, like look at some of the actual doctor testimonials and what they're advocating for and the practices that they need from general society like us that aren't medical professionals. Like, listen, just listen, and you'll be like, oh fuck, I'll pay attention now because these are doctors that are fighting
and before
this shit.
spreading misinformation, dive into things that you're reading. You know,
there's literally like 3 subject matter experts that I can think of that you should be listening to right now. You should be thinking about a communicable disease specialist. You should be listening to them for sure, right? You should be listening to physicians, people that have a great understanding on how this is working and not only how it's spreading, but how it's affecting the individual. You should also be listening to economists. So people that are talking about the post effects of the economy, what's going to happen on the second and third order effects. So we have to listen to the people that are in the healthcare system. We have to listen to the economists. But those are the people you should be listening to. You should not be listening to a influencer or any of us, right? You know, I mean, unless we're saying like, hey, do what you can to help. But the 3
all we can
people
do
that
is
I'm looking at
guide people to the actual information,
where
right?
the data
is.
And that's my ask for like influencers and
Right.
stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, what am I? I'm an internet satirist that makes fucking shitty country music and rap songs and videos.
I think they're pretty good. I think they're really good.
Thanks, buddy. But like all we can do is spread awareness to point people back in the correct information that educates people from a doctorate perspective that understand the disease on a holistic level, and they provide us the information. Like I'm merely regurgitating information from you know, subject matter experts that as well as I can, and I'm a fucking idiot. So that's all I can do, right?
That's all of us. That's all any of us can do. But I think the things that frustrate me in this is the conspiracies, right? The fucking conspiracies are
mind-numbing.
They need to fucking dial it the fuck down, man. Like, come on, guys. Like, we're in a national emergency. It's the same thing, I guess, because we had the 9/11 conspiracies. It was an inside job. It was done by the Jews. Blah 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 blah. Right? Like, these guys all climb out of the fucking woodwork with their dumbass bullshit every time something like this happens. However, when I put the but in here. Now, you can't believe a fucking thing that the Chinese or the Iranians say. So, any conspiracy associated with those 2 countries,
just to make this more
fuck them.
Did you see? It was like 5 days ago. I looked up the statistical data of deaths in China, and they're like, 1 person died of COVID-19 yesterday, and I was like, shut the fuck up, get the fucking lying asshole. Was like. And that's another thing when you look at the epidemic, pandemic, however you classify it, is like we are the world leader in technology and infrastructure
and reporting
and like you're gonna believe what Iran reports as far as COVID-19. They don't fucking know, and nor do they have the medical infrastructure for people that are passing away in whatever village to go, that was a COVID-19 case. So it's just like, take that shit seriously, man. Listen to the doctors. Base your habitual movement and your lifestyle off of what they're advocating for us to do, because it will save lives, not only from the virus, but again, to be super redundant, the third and fourth order effects of what this disease does to the infrastructure in America. Because there's a lot of people right now that cannot get treatment. And we're talking people with, think about this, someone that just ripped their knee in half in ortho. They cannot get that surgery right now. So that's impacting them. So they're going to sit and they're going to have healing, calcification, and all these things that are going to happen to them physiologically that will be lifelong a part of them because of this disease and the influx of inpatient care. So, like, take that shit seriously, man. Like, it's not that hard to stay at home in your condo and get on the internet, play some video games. Shit, man, I don't know. Just.
Do you think they make a movie about this?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah,
Michael Bay,
for sure.
Some hipster will do it and blame it on Trump.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
like they'll call him a racist for calling it a Chinese disease. I got to give, man. Trump's been. I'm not a political guy, but man, like the administration to me is doing a good job, man. I hate that, like, at least until about 5 days ago, reporters and news networks were politicizing this, and you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you can't.
And can we just rally unilaterally as a society and
the whole world is working together right now,
and
you guys are still bitching.
When we get back to like perfect fucking mundane society, you can talk about your fucking microaggressions. Right fucking now is not the goddamn time, dude. Shut the fuck up and do the right thing.
Yeah, now's not the time. he just put out a bunch of information regarding a pandemic, and you're going to split hairs on whether or not he called it the Wuhan flu or whatever the fuck he said. Like,
I love how
hey, why don't you talk about the information that he put out,
Yeah.
less about the way that he's describing the flu? How about we talk about, you know, what the economic impacts of the United States are going to be? But no, they want to make it about race. They want to make it about like taking down the orange man.
Is how many of them cite the I forget what the acronym, the world, it's a 3-letter acronym that authorizes how you name a disease or whatever. Now all of a sudden all of them know, you know, they're the experts on how you're supposed to name a disease. This is not what was put out by the World fucking Disease Organization on how you name a disease. Like you fucking know what
it's always built on the region. It's been like that. It's SARS was like South Asia respiratory sickness or something like that. Like it was built on the region. And Spanish flu, like, oh my gosh. And now all of a sudden we're racist because we're saying it's from China. But let me turn the page into the next piece of the conversation for a few minutes, which is please, by the grace of God, can this country wake the fuck up and embrace American manufacturing and American jobs after this? Because if anything, we could go back to the president's inauguration speech in 2016 when he talked about, I'm going to make America great again. I'm going to bring back American manufacturing. As you guys know, I didn't think Trump was going to win, but I'll tell you what, those words are resonating with me over and over and over every day, which is we have to turn this stimulus into an investment into America's security because, oh, by the way, China was manufacturing over 90% of the components for our drugs. They could extort us over this whole fucking thing, basically, and say they're going to withhold our drugs that we need to survive and combat viruses and diseases because they're manufacturing our drugs. I just have one fucking really big wish in this, past the health of individuals, and hoping that we move through this. It's embrace American manufacturing. Please stop outsourcing America's security. It's a national security risk when you rely so heavy on the Chinese. And oh, by the way, we're also borrowing money from the Chinese for the stimulus package. So the fucking guys that didn't lock this thing down, didn't fucking lock it down within their own country, that manufacture 90+% of our drugs, we're also going to be loaning against them. Holy shit, talk about leverage, talk about a lack of strategic foresight in this United States for our Congress, our Senate, our political officials, every executive fucking office going back to Reagan. Fuck you. Because what you did was you just gave away American manufacturing because you were trying to line the pockets of corporate interests in order to boom the stock market versus maintaining the line of national security, national American-made products. Now I hope what happens now is I hope people finally fucking wake up and say, we can never leverage our ability to manufacture things that are life-saving to the United States to a let alone somebody that we would consider a fucking enemy. Like, this is insane. So I'm looking at him like, who in the fuck was driving this train? Like, where were we? Were we all just like sleeping and like?
Yeah,
it reminds me.
Sleep at the wheel in euphoria, man. The health and welfare of the American public should always come first as a U.S. citizen.
But you know as well as I do, there's a certain portion of the United States that says that we're racist for believing in that, right? They're like, you're racist. It's like, what? Because
then why are you here? Then why are you here?
But we put the most in the global aid, so I don't understand. Whatever. You know what? Maybe we should tell a dick joke and make this.
I don't know. They got what they wanted. They wanted an Evan rant. They got an Evan rant. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
All I can say is, guys, stay safe, right? Do your best to practice your social distancing. Keep your hands clean. I'm going to post a video and link below for the episode it's a Vimeo link. So pay attention to that. If you can, support the Buy Bad, Give Bad campaign. It's a big issue for us. Let's keep up the good fight.
And this means a lot to us, guys, to be honest with you. It's why we're so passionate about it. To be honest with you, like, my brother's a nurse. His girlfriend's a nurse. One of my brothers is a firefighter. My dad's elderly. Like, this impacts my family drastically. and it's why I'm so freaking spun up about it, because like there are so many fucking basic measures we can take as a society to slow the fucking up curve of this virus that require not a lot of effort from us, like staying home, being a little more smart, and just like having it in the back of your head. And yes, like, are you under 29 and your mortality rate is like 0 pretty much? Got it. But think about what your implications and your actions will do to spread that across the United States, and the weight on the healthcare system that takes. Like, just fucking be smart, guys. That's like all I ask. Right. Be smart, educate yourself. I'm a dumb motherfucker myself, but like I'm trying to learn about this and be really smart myself. So that's my ask, please, because there are some people working their fucking asses off right now and going to work every day going, I'm going to get the coronavirus today and I might spread that to my family. Like, just be smart about it, please.
Just hang out, drink a beer.
Yeah, drink a beer,
Right.
Go to the gas station, hand sanitizer in, grab a fucking 36 pack, go back to your house, hand sanitizer up, drink those beers, and have some fun. Put it in the wife's booty, I don't know, or your boyfriend's booty, whatever you do, it don't matter. It's 2020. You live your life. I like it.
Make sure you subscribe to the Free Range American podcast on all the podcast applications. Get in there and rate us, please, and give us a comment in the reviews. And also go check out our YouTube channel, because all of these are video now as well that you can watch on your Apple TV.
Well, except for Evan, I have a bone to pick with Jared, because he put me on the little guy's chair, so he looks bigger than me. I'm like,
shit!
I'm on this little tiny chair. I'm looking at myself in the monitor. I just look like this little skinny guy.
That's not a bone. That is, I had bought 2 different chairs, testing which one we needed, and then a virus outbreak happened, and I can't go buy another chair.
Okay. Blame it on the virus. Okay,
listen,
you racist. You racist.
Look, now I'm the same size.
And all right, I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week.
Hurry up and get to Texas. We got a hard point here. And lastly, Tim Kennedy did text me, and this is a serious subject. He said if it goes really south, he claims everything to San Marcos, and we get up into San Marcos. So he's already building where he's going to be the leader of. He's like, don't fuck with San Marcos and North. It's my territory. And I was like, what? What?
Well, then you and I are taking Bernie.
Yeah,
and Bergheim.
And Evan will be here. Yeah, and then
I'm headed south, fellas. So I'm going to team up with the cartels, and we're gonna build something much different down there.
Coffee extraordinaire. All right.
I'll see you guys in a week.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Free Range American, guys. Have a good day.